Have you been thinking about buying or selling a single-family home in Palm Beach County? I'm sure you've seen the very scary news headlines, but what do the real numbers actually say? Today we're going to go through the most important real estate statistics for single-family home sales in Palm Beach County. We're going to look at things like how long is it actually taking to sell a home? How much inventory is there? And at what price are homes really selling at? I'm also going to tell you why some of the most popular real estate statistics are also the most misleading. Look, I make these videos because any realtor can just open a front door for you or show you a bunch of pretty pictures of houses online. It's just not what I do. When it comes down to time to actually making a purchase or sales decision, you need an agent who not only understands statistics, but can negotiate using those statistics. If not, you're going to end up just leaving a bunch of money on the table. So let's get into the July 2025 Palm Beach County single-family home real estate market report.
All right, folks, thanks for joining me. Let's get right into it. All right, median sold price, $675,000. For those of you that are interested, down year over year from $699,000. If you've watched me before, you've heard me say this: ignore median pricing. Look, there's a reason that I say this, because I'm looking at Palm Beach County on the whole. I have Everglades on one side, I have Ocean on the other side, I have a bunch of different price points in between. I don't think it's that useful of a statistic, honestly. The only thing I ever tell anybody to take from it is a general trend line. Don't get fixated on the minutia within it. You know, you can look and just say, okay, over the last 5 years, our pricing is up, right? If you want to look at it that way, I'm cool with that. That's fine with me. But again, I don't think getting into the minutia is really worth it. That being said, I do want to put a little asterisk here. For those of you that have been hearing that prices are crashing all around Florida and the housing market is a complete mess and all this other kind of foolishness that's out there, if you did want to look at median pricing and if that was what you were going to use, this chart doesn't look like it's crashing. Looks like it's been level for the last 2-3 years, which is the truth. In my opinion, from working in this, if you bought a house over the last 2 or 3 years, it's probably worth about the same amount of money that it was when you purchased it. Market's not cratering, but not really going up either. So that's what I got on median pricing. All right, from a statistic that I don't put very much weight into to a statistic I put a ton of weight into, which is the total number of properties sold. I mean, not a whole lot else matters besides how many people are stepping forward and saying, I like these prices and I want to buy a house, or I have a need and I want to buy this house, or I need to relocate to South Florida and I have to buy a house, whatever the reason is. Very important. We're down, as you can see, month over month. Is this a surprise? Not if you've been watching my videos. If you've been watching my videos, you know that we are very cyclical here. We peak each year in May or June, and we head down until January. It's the same cycle every single year. So this is really no different. The only time for concern, I would say, is if we start to get below or significantly below levels of the same time in the year before. We're down 138 sales year over year. So I don't really think it's a huge deal, something to keep an eye on. But once again, at least in the single family home market, we don't see a housing market in Palm Beach County that is in cratering or in horrific trouble. Is it harder to sell a home right now than it's been? You can make an argument for that. I definitely think that. I think you have to be the best looking and best price in your price bracket or amongst your competition to sell right now in a reasonable amount of time. No doubt about it, but that's a different conversation. So let's move on. Okay, sold to list price ratio. This basically tells you how far off the original listing price a home is selling. Obviously, buyers want this number to be further down as it shows they have more room to negotiate. Sellers want to be higher on this chart as it shows that they don't really need to negotiate. Look, here we are, another chart. We're about level for the last 3 years. Not a whole lot's been changing here. Here's what I will say to it. Sellers, if you list a property and you want to be inflexible and say, I'm not going to negotiate, I'm not going a cent off of my listing price, congratulations, you are probably not going to sell your house. Look, there has to be room for negotiation right now. This is not the market. We are not back here. We're not selling at 107% of list price, which is bananas. That's not our market. If you think that we're back here, I mean, you got to do some more research before you go to list your house, or call me and let's have a conversation about just how wrong you are right now. But in all seriousness, look, I think all this chart says is, buyers, it's unlikely that you are seeing a bunch of blood in the water and you can fire offers 20% below listing price. That's not the market for this. Sellers, it's also not the market where you can be totally inflexible. So reasonable on both sides, I believe. All right, median days on market. Look, this is just kind of back of a napkin. If you were a seller, this is how many days your home is likely going to take to sell. Now, the shortcoming of this statistic, because we are using median and we are using the whole county, is if you're in a lower price point, you're likely to see much lower days on market than higher price points, which are likely to see higher days on market. So there's a lot of nuance behind this, and it's going to adjust depending on what kind of property you're looking at, what price point, what neighborhood, and everything else. But this is just kind of back of a napkin. So what you want to do with this is say, this is the number of days it's active from the time it goes active to pending. This does not account for the contract time that it's taking to close, which is 30 or 45 days. So if you're a seller and you look at this, you're going to be, somewhere between 77 days and 90 days from the time you put your property on the market till you get money in your bank account. Let's look across this chart and kind of look back. Year over year, we're up 7 days. We're up from 40 to 47 days. But I think larger, if you look across this whole thing, kind of eyeball it, what does the middle of the chart look like? What would it be, about 35 days, call it? So it feels like it's taking a bit longer to sell homes right now than it has over the past couple of years. And I honestly, I think that's pretty accurate. I see a lot more homes expiring now without sale than I did this time last year, for sure. So I do think that, again, it just feels like we're on the market longer. So not a huge shock here, but also not this crazy doom and gloom, at least in the single family home market, that I think some of the newspapers around here and such are kind of trying to perpetuate. All right, median price per square foot. Again, here we are. Let's look back. Here we are again. Last 2-3 years were relatively level. Nothing crazy here. All of a sudden, you're seeing the headlines that the real estate market's crashing. We've been in this. This really isn't new. It's been flat. So anyways, look, this is another statistic I'm going to tell you don't pay a whole lot of attention to. Just because, as I said, if you call me up and say, hey, Casey, I want to go look at a single family home on the barrier island of Palm Beach, and I would like to pay the median $340 a square foot, we're going to have absolutely nothing to talk about. It's total non-starter. Where other areas, if you come in and you want to pay $340 a square foot, you're going to be above the market, and a seller in that neighborhood would love $340 a square foot. So again, we're going to have to fine-tune this. If you call me up and give me the neighborhood or the zip code that you're looking in, we're going to have to rework this figure. Again, same thing I took with median sold price overall. Charts up and to the right over the last handful of years. You can say pricing has gone up. Look, there's also a reason for this, in my opinion, which is the market right now is not the DIY market. I haven't dealt with a buyer in a number of years that wants to make a house their own. It's not what buyers want now. They want it renovated and done with. And the renovated and done with stuff is going to sell more than the dilapidated and needs updating stuff, right? So all logical. Anyways, look, if we go below $300 a square foot or above $400 a square foot, that's when I think it'll start to get my attention. But for now, same old, same old. Okay, total dollar volume. This is the poster child for why I tell a lot of my listeners to ignore some statistics in Palm Beach County. This is one that I completely ignore. First of all, you can just look at the chart and it looks manic. There's nothing here that looks normal about it. But I want to illustrate this with a fine point here. So I'm gonna look at my notes. So we had just over 1,000 sales, right? 1,022 sales. The top 25 sales, so the top 25 out of the 1,000 sales, accounted for $342 million. So $342 million of this $1.265 billion that we had in sales. Another way to say it, 2.5% of the sales made up 27% of the volume, right? 25 sales made up 27% of this total volume. So this is why I say ignore it, because if those 25 sales, whatever, hadn't taken place, the high end, decided they wanted to be in the Hamptons for an extra month and not down here shopping for properties. All of a sudden this chart, looks down, we're down here and everybody's panicking saying the total dollar volume's off. It's not. It's just one segment of the market took a breather. 25 of 1,022 sales decided not to show up for the month. So this is really why I tell you guys, Palm Beach County, because of the vast swings that we have in price, it decimates a lot of metrics, and I think it only leaves a few that are logical to use. So I'm very careful to point this out quite often. Look, if you disagree with me, make a comment down below. I would love to argue with you about it. I don't know. I think I see it the right way here, but whatever you guys think. All right, I want to take a break before I move on here just to remind everybody of one thing. If you're thinking about buying or selling a property in Palm Beach County, before you do anything else, call or text me, 786-443-7203. You can also use the Contact Me form that's down here in the description. Tell me what it is that you need help with. This is the backbone of my business and has been for over a decade, is people I've met through my blog and on YouTube. So you will not be the first nor the last to contact me and end up either acquiring or disposing of real estate this way. So please don't be shy. And of course, sooner rather than later, because the earlier that I'm involved in the process, the easier it is for me to help you out. So let's go on to months of supply. All right, months of supply. We're going to have my co-pilot here for the last slide because he woke up from a nap and won't leave me alone. All right, months of supply sitting at 5.38 months, up 8% year over year. Few things I want to go through on here. If you know me or have watched me, you will know this is my favorite of any statistic. Show me a supply line and I can tell you what a market is doing and where it's likely headed. So I hope you guys get on board with me and understand the value behind this and use it to your advantage. So two things change months of supply. A change in the number of active listings or a change in the total number of sales. What month of supply represents is it says, if the current pace of sales continued, in 5.38 months, we would have no more supply left. That's how long it would take to eat through the inventory and there would be no homes for sale. Higher number of months for sale are going to favor buyers, right? You're going to have more choice, market slower, you don't feel as pressured to make a decision. Sellers want lower supply because buyers are forced to make a faster choice. They have fewer choices. So that's kind of how that goes. A couple of things that I do want to point out here, very important. We're seeing this chart curl down. How in the world can this be? Especially because one of the recipes for doom and gloom and disaster is a ton of months of supply with nothing selling. Here's what I think is happening. I am seeing a lot of listings that are either expiring or getting canceled. And I've been saying this for a couple of months now. I just took a couple of months to play through in the data, but I saw this going on, which is people were canceling and they're not relisting. You know, when you go through the MLS and you look at the expired listings, you'll see a lot of them they're just not relisting. And I think that's a function of what we've had here for so long, which is, first of all, people have a lot of equity here in general, right? Save if you bought in the last 2 or 3 years. If you bought sometime before that, you have enough equity that you're probably not pressured to sell. You can if you want to, but you have to mix that in with the fact that a lot of these sellers have ultra low interest rates. And if they sell, they have to go from their 2.5% or 3% interest rate to a new 6% mortgage. So unless you're moving to somewhere else with a lower cost of living, the appeal that used to be there to just kind of swap houses if you were, you wanted to move from, Boca to Jupiter or, Del Rey to Palm Beach Gardens, you could just kind of swap houses, and it was kind of a one-for-one exchange. The market's different now. The dynamics are different. So, again, if we draw a line across here, I think about 4 months looks to be what the balanced market was. I think I still feel like this market favors buyers, but I do think that advantage is getting chipped away at. So if you're a buyer, you want to keep an eye on this chart, because the lower that it goes down, the tougher the market's going to be for you. Another way of saying this is, look, we hit our busy season here. Usually November, December sales pick up to close in January. If you're a buyer, you might want to look down at the calendar. We're in July. August, September into October get to be good months to go looking for houses to try to get a deal. But then after that, we go into the beginning of the year, your competition is going to be harder. So if I'm a buyer, I want to keep that in mind. If I'm a seller, I want to keep in mind that, hey, if this supply line keeps coming down and we're getting towards October, it's probably a good time for me to think about getting that house on the market. So, look, that's what I got for you guys. Call, text, email me, 786-443-7203. Use the contact me form down below. I love to hear from listeners. Been doing these blogs now, first in Fort Lauderdale and now up here for a 12 or 13 year span. It's how I built my business. I have transacted a large amount of real estate based off of people finding me this way. So please, don't be shy. Reach out. We'll see you next month, guys.